Made in Heaven.
Jojo's newest season, Stone Ocean, is finally done and concluded with, and after a whole year I finally had the opportunity to sit down this week and watch it from start to finish, which is honestly not something I thought I'd be doing. As everyone knows, Netflix got the rights to this season, and with it comes a batch release of 12 to 13 episodes every couple months, which was obviously not well received by the community. The most common concern was that Netflix killed the hype for this season, and although I still saw announcements and excitement on the Twitter timeline ever so often, you could definitely see the decline in interest when compared to something like Part 5, which you couldn't escape from. We can only hope that they don't make the same mistake with the following parts and schedule a weekly release to sustain the insane levels of hype that JoJo's as a franchise can reach, especially as manga readers claim the next part to be the peak of JoJo's. But nevertheless, I decided to wait until everything was all said and done for Part 6 for me to just binge it straight out, as that's pretty much what I've done for Parts 3 to 5. The next section of the video will contain spoilers for Part 6, so if you haven't yet watched or read it, firstly, what are you doing? Secondly, give it a watch as it deserves all the credit that it receives. Stone Ocean to its core is a damn good part in addition to the JoJo storyline. It combines a lot of what I love from parts 3 to 5 and also gave off its own sense of style that Araki wanted to portray with the cast and story. Jolene is the daughter of the boss himself, Jotaro, and similar to Stardust Crusaders, they both start in a holding cell. This was also where we first get to see Jolene's stand ability Stone Free, which she used to save Hermes from the guards, and we can talk more about her stand later in the video. Aside from the part 3 similarities with the introduction, nothing really insane happened that caught my attention. But of course, as the story went on and we got to see more of Jolene as a character, the way she handled certain situations with her near genius battle IQ and her determination to save not only her father, who was immobilized by Pucci and his goons, but also the people she encountered along the way with Hermes, Weather Report, and even Foo Fighters, a stand user that she knew was wrongly manipulated, she suddenly became one of the main things I liked about this part, and this was heightened heavily with how Stone Ocean concluded. Even though Jolene is a really amazing character in her own right, the side characters just like part 5 or 3 was also really dope in this part and kept the story fresh and entertaining a majority of time they were on screen. Characters like Emporio add to the chaos that's always happening and manage to help the gang escape in any way he can, whilst also having some of the most heartfelt moments as we saw with the ending. Weather Report is also another one that's done really well, practically saving Jolene's life multiple times in the ending of season 1, and he also has a substantial amount of depth to his character with his dynamic with Pucci. And of course you got the main two with Foo Fighters and Hermes, who is joined later with Anna Sui, and they all serve their purpose in the story well. Whether that be with supporting Jolene and others, as Foo Fighters does a lot with her stand ability, or just creating interesting subplots that we can follow along with the enemies Pucci sends along to defeat them. We even get to see another side to Jotaro, which was very different to parts 3 and 4 with his relationship with Jolene, and although he's not in this season for pretty much the majority, his effect on the main character was clearly there, and his protection / care for Jolene was portrayed really well, and aside from the battle IQ she inherited from him, the other side of Jotaro's personality was adopted by her as well, as she literally sacrificed herself at the end so Emporio could escape. Definitely a diverse supporting cast and easily up there as one of my favourites from the parts released so far. Jotaro's main involvement, aside from what I said earlier, is this unconscious state that Pucci puts him into, which later becomes the general plot for this part. Jolene has to save her father by retrieving the stand and memory disc, and this is where Pucci's direct involvement in the story finally starts, along with what he calls the Heaven Plan. His evil mastermind plan was originally found by Dio, and he planned to relay this onto Pucci, but of course as we know he died in part 3, and Jotaro burned his notebook containing it, leading Pucci to plan for years in order to create a weakness that can help him extract Jotaro's own memory of the plan. After multiple trials and tribulations, he finally completed all the necessary steps, from sealing Jotaro's memory to creating the green baby in order to initiate the plan, accelerating time and creating a new universe where everyone is aware of their own fate and Pucci is in control. A plan that was more than 100 years in the making and something even Dio couldn't do by himself and required Pucci. Definitely the most ambitious goal for a JoJo's villain that we've seen so far, and from the build up to the eventual conclusion, everything was handled in such a wild yet amazing way that all flowed surprisingly well. From the time we entered the prison to when Jotaro is saved, followed by more and more bizarre sequences with the green baby and Bohemian Rhapsody. Rhapsody arc. Finally coming to an end with the Made in Heaven arc that I know a lot of fans were looking forward to, which contained for me personally the best ending to a JoJo's part out of all the ones animated so far. Poochie struggled to wait for the new moon whilst the cast was trying to kill him, and the activation of Made in Heaven itself, which caused such a massive effect on absolutely everything, accelerating time, even affecting the sun, was such a dope string of events, and the ending to the fight really blew me away with the entire cast dying except for Emporio, who experiences the transition to the new universe before defeating Poochie in a way kinda symbolic to the characters that were killed, furthering that feeling of Emporio carrying everyone's resolve and sacrifices to defeat this enemy. He used weather report's ability to manipulate the oxygen within the room and pulled off a miracle once again, defeating Poochie and inevitably changing the universe to a state where the main cast has returned and Jolene is back, but now as Irene, someone free and untainted with a whole new life ahead of her, which was clearly shown to be a lot better than the Jolene we once knew. A wonderful ending and something I didn't expect coming into this part. The direction really was something with how everyone was reintroduced, and it made the scene a lot more impactful when watching it for the second time to make this video. I wouldn't say that I'm an avid JoJo's fan, but this season took the anime a few tiers higher for me. It made me rethink a lot of concepts that Araki introduces, such as fate within the universe, and in terms of pure entertainment, it's up there with parts 3 and 5 for me. The stands such as Stone 3, which instead of being a powerhouse is more so a utility based stand, and Made in Heaven's core ability to speed up the entire universe is just super dope. And although most of the stand abilities are pretty basic or easy to understand, the creativity and gruesome ways Araki shows them off is just such a fun watch. This scene was something else, man. Can't forget to mention Bohemian Rhapsody as well, which is such a wild yet unsurprising ability because of how JoJo's as a series is, but still bizarre as it can bring to life fictional characters that can just wreak pure havoc across the world. David Production did their thing with this season, and I've seen a few criticisms online about how it's just a slideshow and not animation, and it just makes me think if I've watched a different anime or if people are just blind. The only nitpick I can think of having any validity is the blank background character sometimes, but it honestly barely affected anything for me personally. Animation was pretty consistent throughout, and I've heard some things got cut from the anime, but I'm not too sure. If it's pretty important to the story or characters, let me know in the comments and I'll peep the manga on certain scenes. It seems like the main timeline or universe for parts 1 to 6 has now concluded, ending the era for the cast and story as we know it. So I'm excited to see where Araki will go from here with parts 7 and 8. Part 7 is the most hyped JoJo's part by far from manga readers, so I'm investing all my stock into this being my favourite and solidifying JoJo's as one of my top anime manga series. Part 6 was incredible, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on the season down below. I'm gonna go watch the My Name is Emporio moment for the 5th time. As always, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you in my next video. Peace.